Customer care can work better with Xerox.
Mr. Kent?
Be ready to winter with Infinity. Now through January 4th, lease the Infinity Q50 for $309 a month.
Back with us now, Chris Stirewalt, Steve Hayes joining us here. Chris, after just talking to Bobby Jindal, the governor, I mean, he was on the attack. I complimented him for what was an energetic performance. What do you think of the effectiveness of it?
Well, it was effective at harming Chris Christie. He put a dent in Christie's side fender over the record in New Jersey, which has not been good. Christie has an excuse. He has Democratic control of the legislature problems. I don't know that Jindal did that much good for himself, especially when the attack veered into invective and he said juice box and you get a participation medal. That seems small. Christie seemed more presidential.
Steve Hayes, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, you know, Bobby Jindal said several times that Republicans couldn't elect a big government Republican to the White House. That's a line that's likely to stick with people. But beyond that, I don't think he really scored on any of his punches. He was certainly punching hard. It's just hard to see how anybody watches this debate and says, I need that guy to be on the big stage the next time.
Steve, I want to take a second, Chris, bear with me here. We're going to go to the stage. The Republican National Committee Chairman, Reince Priebus, is welcoming the crowd, and it is a huge crowd. Let's listen in.
All right, thank you. And he couldn't do it alone, but we've got it all in Wisconsin. We've got both houses of the legislature. The Assembly, led by Speaker Robin Vos, is here. Our Senate Majority Leader, Scott Fitzgerald, is here. And how about our favorite son, the new Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan?
Well, from Wisconsin, the new Speaker of the House, and Reince Priebus bringing them all together. This is, of course, Reince Priebus's stomping ground, Chris. He's, I think you would say, delivered the goods.
And they all have one thing in common, which is that they can claim to have met fellow Wisconsinite Steve Hayes. That's basically what all of those people he introduced, that's why they're really where they are today.
He set you up there, Steve.
I had a beer and
ate cheese curds before they went over. We're in Wisconsin.
Exactly.
Yeah, I miss it. I'd love to be there having a Pabst.
Well, the thought that Reince Priebus is leading this cycle after what was a disappointment last time. 2012 was a disappointment. This has an entirely different feel. It has a quality of candidates, if I may say, that I think is astounding. There's a diversity, a real diversity. You're talking about medical doctors, billionaire builders. You're talking about ordained ministers. This is just remarkable.
Yeah, and I would argue that the Republicans probably need more debates. I would argue that the debate regime that they put in place is probably too limiting. They have so much inventory, and I think you're very right that they have a lot of good choices here, or they have some very good choices. But they've got to go through the inventory to see what's what. And only debates, as you saw tonight, only debates get you the wheat from the chaff.
Steve, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I do think it's a strong field. If you look at the kind of debates and the kind of things that have emerged from the debates, you've seen substantive, I think, exchanges in some cases in spite of the moderators. But you've had substantive changes. You've had an exchange of ideas. You know, very clearly you've got these sort of two groups in the Republican primary right now, the outsiders and then everybody else. And I think you're seeing the kind of battle waged somewhat personally, but also a lot on differing ideas that has to make Reince Priebus pretty happy.
Well, he certainly seemed to be, as he's welcoming everyone in, welcoming all of the elected officials and getting the audience revved up for the second debate. I personally don't think there's going to be much of a need for a rev up for this second debate. Let's, if we can, let's go in to see what's going on in the auditorium, if we could. Well, I'm told we can't get back there right now. So we do know this, that shortly the candidates will be entering the stage. They're going to have all of the photo sprays and photo opportunities with all the candidates at their podiums. Give us your best guess as to who is going to break through here beyond perhaps Carson and Trump.
Well, look, the interplay between Carson and Trump is very important to this race. We certainly care about what the second tier, so there's 3 tiers in the field right now. You have the first tier, you have Trump and Carson, and they're basically tied. Then you have another 2 candidates tied. That's Rubio and Cruz, and they're double digits, basically tied. The 2 Cuban-American senators, 44 years old. And then you have everybody else splitting up 20% of the vote. How Carson interacts with Trump and how he deflects or rebukes Trump for an attack will be very interesting.
The candidates, as you see, walking out on the stage there, getting ready for what is a very highly scheduled series of events that will take place, those photo ops that I talked about, as the candidates get ready to take their podiums, and then there will be another, what they lovingly call, affectionately call a photo spray. It's elegantly worded, perhaps, but it's what they chose to call it. The photographers will be, they'll have about a minute on that stage. Steve Hayes, as Chris is suggesting, there's some duopolies have been created here, it seems. Carson and Trump and Rubio and Cruz, Rubio and Bush, rather. And Cruz seems to be sort of standing by himself apart now. Your thoughts about how those dynamics will work and what influence they may or may not have on the night's debate?
Well, I agree with Chris's framing of the 3 tiers 100%. I think he's exactly right about that. Look, I think the pressure here is basically on 2 people. One, Jeb Bush. Does he give his team, who will no doubt emerge from this debate and say, this is the beginning of Jeb Bush's comeback? Does Jeb Bush give his team a performance or a moment or a series of moments that allows them to make that case credibly, both to reporters in the room, to Americans abroad, at large, and also to the donors that he needs to keep on board? And the second is Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump has been telling people throughout his time in the race that he is the candidate who does best on the economy. These are 90-second answers. Will he be able to explain in some detail, in the weeds, which I believe the moderators want to spend some time in, will he be able to explain to people what he would do as president and go beyond the name-calling and go beyond the bromides that we've seen from him?
Is now, excuse me, Steve, I'm sorry. I just wanted to point out the color guard is taking their places in front of the stage, and the color guard will then, of course, be followed by the national anthem that will come up shortly.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
The national anthem, beautifully sung. The color guard withdrawing from